So this is my 5 tips for lean bulking. Number 1, know your macros. If you know your macros, your calories are going to sort themselves out, or vice versa. If you know your calories, you're going to have a much better idea of how to break down those macros to know how many you need. So your protein, you want to make sure you're getting enough of that, but not an excessive amount, because otherwise you're just wasting those calories on the extra protein, whereas you could be using them for carbs to grow instead. When you've got a higher calorie diet going on, your muscles are a lot less prone to muscle breakdown. That's why we're able to have the minimum amount of protein, because we've got all those carbs and everything for energy, which is going to help us stop those muscles breaking down. Then you want to make sure you're getting enough carbs, and you're getting enough carbs to fuel your workouts and fuel your recovery. But you don't want to get an excessive amount of carbs, because otherwise they're not going to get used and they're just going to get stored as fat. And we're trying to lean bulk, so we're trying to minimize the amount of fat we put on. To figure out how many carbs you should probably have, it's best to just go with an amount like 200 grams a day, try it for a week, and see where you go weight-wise. If you drop weight, you know you're not getting enough. And if you increase weight really quickly in that week, you know you're getting too many. And then you just experiment until you find the perfect amount. And fat, don't neglect that fat just because we're lean bulking. When I'm talking about fats, I'm talking about good fats, not the ones that are coming from your Domino's and your Krispy Kreme donuts. You need to get a good amount, a high amount. For me, I'm having about 100 grams of good fats, or as much of it as good fat as I can a day. The reason you want higher fats is to keep those optimal testosterone levels and hormone levels, because both of those are gonna help you grow. Without enough fat, your body's not gonna be able to hold up those testosterone and hormone levels. They're gonna plummet, and you're just not gonna make any gains. Number 2, list cardio. I always go on about list cardio. What I tend to do is an hour walk, fasted first thing in the morning, although I've been a bit lazy with that lately, I gotta be honest, because the weather's fucking shit. And by doing this, without those carb stores going through you at that time, and because of the low intensity of the exercise, it's not gonna risk taking it from your muscles. So what it's gonna do is just directly hit those fat stores. So it's a nice way to just chip away at the fat while you may be gaining a little bit while you're bulking. Also, by doing this low intensity style cardio, it's gonna leave your energy for those intense weight sessions and the recovery you gotta do afterwards. Number 3, talking about recovery, is rest and sleep. You gotta get this stuff. This is when you grow. You don't grow in the gym. That's just breaking down the muscles. If you keep breaking down the muscles, they're never gonna be able to heal, which means they're never gonna grow. But while you're resting, those broken muscle fibers, they're gonna grow back, and they're gonna grow back thicker and stronger. And that's exactly what we want. I try to get always 8 hours sleep a night. This gives me a great amount of time to go into that deep dream REM sleep, because that's when you do the most growing and healing, so I can be in that period for a longer time for maximum growth. If you're only sleeping 4 to 5 hours, you have got less of a chance of getting into that REM sleep. You still might get there, but maybe only for an hour or 2. Whereas if you're sleeping for 8 hours, you could get there for a good whack of the night. And also, we're talking about rest days. When you're bulking, I wouldn't train more than 5 days a week. I try to train 4 to 5. 4 gives you maximum time to rest, but the downside is if you're not only focusing on big compound movements and heavy weight training, it's hard to fit in all those smaller muscle groups like arms and calves and abs and things like that. So I go with the 5 because it all fits in a lot better. Tip number 4, higher calorie / carb day. This just means we're trying to stop the body getting complacent with the amount of food we've given it. I would recommend, if you're gonna do it clean and you're not gonna go with a cheat, just having about 150 to 200 grams more carbs on that day. But if you wanna go with a cheat meal, go for it, just do whatever you want. But bear in mind, you're gonna be having a high amount of bad fats on that day. And the last one, tip number 5, train smart. Know why you're doing it. So this is what we're doing. We're trying to bulk and grow muscle while keeping our fat to a minimum, or at least the fat gain to a minimum. And to make this growth possible, we're getting an excessive amount of carbs in. So we need to make sure we can justify them carbs being used. These carbs are going to be used for the intenser training sessions, as well as the massive amount of healing and growing you've got to do when you're resting. During your workouts, we really need to exhaust those muscles. We need to push them heavy and hard, and then you need to completely fatigue them, so you know that they're going to want every bit of the extra calories you're taking in. And then after those hard sessions, it ain't over. We still need huge amounts of energy to recover those muscles afterwards and get the most amount of growth out of them. So you also need good calories for that. So you just need to understand those points. You need to know why you're doing this. If you're not that bothered about the fat gain, then you might as well just go on for the full bulk, because then you just got way more chance of gaining some muscle, and it's winter anyway, so who the hell's gonna see your body? So that's it, that's my 5 points. Drop me a comment below if you think there's any vital ones that I might have missed out. Thanks for watching. More informative, well, I hope it was informative, videos coming up. If you like this, please give it a like below, that would be super cool. And subscribe as well if you haven't already, so that you can see all the videos I'm gonna bring out in the future as I go through my bulk season now, then into my cutting season, and then into show season. That's it for now. See you later.